Have you ever stopped to think about your family tree? I mean, really think about it. Go back 1,000 years, 10,000 years, 100,000 years. Where does your personal story actually begin? For decades, this was one of the biggest questions in science. Where did humanity as we know it truly originate? Was it in Europe, Asia, or did we spring up in multiple places all at once? The answer, now confirmed by a mountain of evidence, is as profound as it is unifying. Your story, my story, and the story of every single person alive today begins on one continent, Africa. For a long time, there was a major debate in the scientific community. One popular idea was the multi-regional theory. This theory suggested that modern humans, Homo sapiens, evolved from earlier human ancestors simultaneously in different parts of the world, in Africa, Europe, and Asia, all in parallel. It was a compelling idea for a while, suggesting that ancient human populations were all interconnected. But as our scientific tools became more advanced, particularly in the field of genetics, a different story emerged. The multi-regional theory has since been largely replaced by a more powerful, evidence-backed model, the recent African origin model, more famously known as the out-of-Africa theory. This model states that modern humans evolved only in Africa, and then, in a relatively recent event, migrated out to populate the rest of the world. So, what's the proof? Well, it's literally written in our DNA. The most powerful piece of evidence is hidden inside every single cell of your body. It's called mitochondrial DNA. Unlike the DNA in our cell's nucleus, which is a mix from both parents, mitochondrial DNA is passed down almost exclusively from mother to child, generation after generation, like an unbroken chain. It's a direct maternal lineage. In the late 1980s, scientists started analyzing mitochondrial DNA from people all over the world. They traced these lines backward through time, looking for a common point of origin. What they discovered was astonishing. They found that every human being alive today can trace their mitochondrial DNA back to a single common female ancestor. The media famously nicknamed her Mitochondrial Eve now. She wasn't the only woman alive at the time, but she is the only one whose maternal lineage has continued unbroken to the present day. And where did she live? All the evidence points to one place, Africa, approximately 200,000 years ago. This discovery was a bombshell. It meant that everyone, from the bustling streets of Tokyo to the remote villages of the Amazon, shares a recent common ancestor who lived in Africa. It was the first major pillar supporting the out-of-Africa theory. This isn't about one first woman, but about proving a single recent origin point for all modern humans, a genetic bottleneck that happened on the African continent. But genetics is only half the story. To truly build the case, you need to see if the physical evidence, the fossils, match up. And they do, perfectly. If modern humans evolved in Africa, then we should find the oldest fossils of people who look just like us anatomically modern humans exclusively in Africa. And that's exactly what the fossil record shows. For a long time, the oldest known Homo sapiens fossils, from a site called Omo Kibish in Ethiopia, were dated to around 195,000 years ago. This lined up beautifully with the timeline for mitochondrial EV. But then, in 2017, a discovery in Morocco at a site called Jebel Irhoud pushed that date back even further. Researchers found fossils of early Homo sapiens that were dated to an incredible 315,000 years ago. These individuals had faces that were remarkably modern, just like ours, even though their brain cases were slightly more primitive. What's crucial is that we don't find anything comparable in age anywhere else in the world. The oldest Homo sapiens fossils found in Europe or Asia are much younger. The timeline is undeniable. The earliest chapters of our species story are found written in the stones and soil of Africa. From Morocco in the north to Ethiopia in the east, the fossils paint a clear picture. We were born and raised in Africa for hundreds of thousands of years before we ever stepped foot on another continent. So, we have the genetic proof and the fossil proof. This leads to the next big question. If we started in Africa, how did we get everywhere else? This is the story of the Great Migration. Sometime between 70,000 and 100,000 years ago, one or perhaps a few small groups of these African modern humans began a journey that would change the world forever. We're not talking about a planned expedition. This was a slow, generational expansion, likely driven by climate change and the simple need to follow food sources like herds of animals and coastal resources. It's believed this incredible journey out of Africa happened primarily through a single major dispersal event. Imagine a small band of hunter-gatherers, maybe just a few hundred or a few thousand individuals, leaving Northeast Africa. Some may have taken a northern route across the Sinai Peninsula into the Middle East. Another prominent theory suggests a southern route where people crossed the Bab el-Mandeb Strait at the southern end of the Red Sea, which was much narrower and shallower at the time, and then followed the coastlines of Arabia, India, and onward into Southeast Asia. This small founding population is the ancestor of every non-African person alive today. It's an incredible thought. The vast diversity of humanity across 5 other continents can be traced back to this single, epic journey. But the world wasn't empty. When our ancestors ventured out of Africa and into Europe and Asia, they were not alone. These continents were already home to other species of humans, our ancient cousins who had left Africa in much earlier migrations. In Europe and Western Asia, they met the Neanderthals. In Asia, they encountered another group known as the Denisovans for a long time. We wondered what happened when these different human groups met. Was it a story of conflict and replacement? The answer, once again, comes from our DNA. When scientists sequenced the Neanderthal genome, they made a startling discovery. They found that modern humans of non-African descent carry between 1 to 4% Neanderthal DNA in their genomes. Similarly, some populations in Asia and Oceania carry DNA from the Denisovans. This is the smoking gun. It tells us that our ancestors didn't just replace these other humans, they met them, and they had children with them. This interbreeding happened asterisk after asterisk our ancestors left Africa, which is why these genetic signatures are absent in modern African populations. It's a fascinating twist in our story, a reminder that the human family tree has some complex and intertwined branches. So, when you look at the grand tapestry of human history, from our genetics to our fossils to the story of our migrations, one truth becomes crystal clear. The story of humanity is a story of unity. It's a story that begins in one place, Africa, with one ancestral population. This isn't just an abstract scientific theory. Understanding our recent, shared African origin is fundamental to understanding ourselves. It means that despite our superficial differences in appearance or culture, we are all, quite literally, one family. Our story is one of exploration, of resilience, and ultimately, of connection. It's a journey that started over 300,000 years ago and continues with every one of us today. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey back in time. If you found this as fascinating as we do, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for the Origin Pulse, where we dive deep into the true story of our species. We'll see you in the next one.